There may be as many fraud schemes as lakes in the state, given the ease in which scammers tapped government funds. Some 86 individuals have been charged with defrauding Medicaid and the federal child nutrition program in Minnesota. Yes, literally stealing lunch money from kids. No one was doing anything about the red flags, one defendant's attorney told the New York Times. It was like someone was stealing money from the cookie jar and they kept refilling it. In one of those alleged schemes, the outfit Feeding Our Future recruited individuals to set up a network of sham companies and sites that claimed to feed children in the pandemic. They then submitted false invoices and fake attendance rosters to the state. In fact, one of those rosters actually grabbed names from another website called listofrandomnames.com. And somehow this worked for years.
Tonight, we're looking at one of the biggest welfare fraud scandals in modern American history, the part that nobody in power wants to take responsibility for. You've got COVID relief money, Medicaid money, school lunch money, all flowing through a system that was supposedly for children. And somehow it turned into luxury houses, Nordstrom shopping sprees, and fake therapy clinics. In this segment, you're going to hear exactly how that happened and how the politicians and media tried to spin it as a success story. Then, I'll break down what this really says about our welfare state, accountability, and mass migration in the U.S. Let's roll it.
In another scheme, a 28-year-old woman allegedly launched a company called Smart Therapy, claiming to provide one-on-one behavioral therapy to autistic children. She employed her relatives with no formal education. She recruited parents to enroll their non-autistic kids in her therapy sessions by paying them kickbacks of up to $1,500 a month per child. And in a darkly comic twist, some parents allegedly then extorted the woman by threatening to enroll their children in other autism centers if they weren't paid bigger kickbacks. In another indictment, 8 individuals were charged with fraudulently billing Medicaid to help recovering addicts find stable housing. Yes, housing. Minnesota pioneered the use of Medicaid money to help beneficiaries secure housing on the questionable rationale this improves health and reduces healthcare spending. So again, they tried to cram housing spending, welfare housing spending, into Medicaid. So, again, Democrats built this entire massive infrastructure. And now it turns out lots of people took advantage of that. And those people were, in this particular case, Somali. Now, it's hilarious to watch members of the media try to create a rationale for why Somali immigrants to the United States overall have been a massive boon. We went from, again, 2,500 Somali Americans in 1990 to almost 200,000 today. And that is purely through mass migration and the natural increase. And that mass migration was driven.
What he's laying out here is the scale of the system, the dollars, the structure, and how these programs were built. Before we get into the political framing that comes next, it's important to keep one thing in mind. Anytime you open up a system with fast money and low oversight, fraud becomes almost guaranteed. That's not about community. That's about how governments operate. Let's keep it going.
By humanitarian concerns, but it turns out that it's come with some pretty significant costs. So today, there's an article from KSTP in Minnesota. It's the ABC outlet in Minnesota. And here's the headline. Somali Minnesotans drive economic growth, pay $67 million in tax annually. I mean, I may not be like unbelievable at math, but if you drive $67 million in state and local taxes, and you scam $1 billion, there's some zeros missing there if what you're hoping to show is that the mass migration has been a net benefit to the economic health of the United States. Apparently, Somali Minnesotans generate $500 million in income annually. So in other words, this one big welfare scheme doubled the amount of income earned by Somali Minnesotans that they took out from just that welfare scheme. Okay, not even like legitimate welfare, like fake welfare fraud. They took out twice the amount that they actually earn in income, which is crazy. That's crazy. So again, the levels of poverty in the Somali American community, incredibly high. The levels of education, dramatically lower than surrounding Minnesotans. And so that raises the problem, of course, of mass migration, as well as the welfare system. Now, in order for all this to happen, you have to have complicit politicians. Because when the fraud is this big, when this many people seem to know about it, it seems almost impossible that you don't have elected officials who knew about it. Fascinating piece in today's New York Post by Chadwick Moore. Quote, U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar's close ties to the $1 billion welfare scam in her Minnesota congressional district are being uncovered. Omar held parties at one of the key restaurants named in the fraud, knew one of its now convicted owners, And one of her own staffers has also been convicted for stealing millions. Omar even introduced the bill that led to the $250 million in fraud, yet she claims to have been completely unaware of it. Bill Glenn, a policy fellow with the Minnesota-based Center for the American Experiment, said, quote, Representative Omar knew who these people were. Personally, she knew they were making tens of millions of dollars in this program. She had been inside the Safari facility on numerous occasions and couldn't put two and two together. Either she's terminally naive or she knew and she did not care. That $250 million referenced here by Chadwick Moore was handed out by the Minnesota government for those meals for school kids that never actually materialized. Instead, the money just got pocketed by corrupt business owners, including one Salim Ahmed Saeed, who's the co-owner of the Safari restaurant where Omar held her 2018 congressional victory party. He was found guilty in August of stealing $12 million for serving almost 4 million phantom meals during COVID-19. Apparently, he had a pretty significant shopping habit. He blew $2 million on a Minneapolis mansion, and he had a $9,000 a month shopping habit at Nordstrom. That is a lot of money on clothes, my dude. Like, sir, I hope at least you were well-dressed, because that is a lot of money on clothes.
This part really shows the scale of what's happening. When you've got someone pulling in millions of dollars from a program meant to feed children and then turn around and spending thousands a month on clothes, that's not just bad oversight. That's a system that wasn't being monitored at all. And whenever safeguards fall apart like this, it's an open door for huge fraud no matter who's involved. All right, let's keep it going.
Omar, again, this happened inside her district. Her defense is everybody who mentions this sort of stuff is racist. Right? That is always and forever the defense. So President Trump, of course, has been highly critical of the Somali American mass migration issue. Ilhan Omar says that Trump is an abusive, deranged old man. This woman who once suggested that 9/11 was something some people did, and who herself has written, again, she wrote a letter to a judge asking that a recruit to ISIS be granted mercy because of the evils of having to integrate in America. That is a real thing she did. And here's a sitting congresswoman in the United States of America calling the president an abusive, deranged old man because he's been critical of Somali mass migration.
And I think the press, in many ways, that covers the White House, I think have gotten used to his bigotry. They all have, I think, that delayed reaction, and they've all gotten used to all of his lies. That's why there's rarely a follow-up. But they also have gotten used to his abuse. You know, you've seen him say to one female reporter, "Quiet, Biggie." You see him calling another one stupid and dumb. This is a very abusive, deranged old man, and I think for a lot of people, it's still shocking. It's still jarring.
I mean, I think actually what is more shocking and jarring is that a person like Ilhan Omar is in the United States Congress, given her levels of corruption, given the open and very real questions about her own immigration story with regard to her brother, given the fact that she is wildly anti-American in the way that she approaches politics and the Constitution of the United States, given her warm embrace of terrorism-adjacent people.
So here's the big picture. When a welfare system is this huge, this political, and this uncountable, you're going to get exactly what you just watched. People exploiting the programs, politicians pretending they didn't know, anyone who asked questions getting labeled the bad guy. On this channel, we're going to keep breaking these stories down with outrage and without sugarcoating it. If you want more straight analysis like this, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and tell me if you think this is one-off scandal or a preview of where the entire welfare state is headed. I will see you in the next one.